get, Councilman?
Whenever you are.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, October 17th. It is now 6:25 PM. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Roll call. Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Bourget is absent, Council Vice President Williamson. Here. And Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared.
Before we get started again tonight, I know the clerks that are doing the minutes, they said, please make sure you speak into your microphone because that doing the minutes for the meetings.
Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the October 3rd, 2023 regular town council meeting and cancellation of taxes as requested by the tax assessor in the amount of $12,687.97.
Move the consent agenda.
Second. Move the second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes.
Ordinances, second reading of ordinance 2023-23 requesting a tax stabilization development agreement for One Noons Lane as requested by FJN Realty LLC.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Move the second, discussion? I know I sent an email to the council, day after the meeting last time. I know I had some questions for the last meeting. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, our town planner, was she involved in this agreement?
Not that I'm aware of from the initial stage.
Because going through the ordinance, Brian, I think you said you read the ordinance. It says that the tax assessor and the planner would help put this together. And also, you look at the ordinance that's proposed, and I'll tell you what the ordinance number is. Under section 18-64, 65, 66, actually 61 to 63, up to 65. And it sets terms and everything in place already. Now, Sal, I think it was said that you gave this ordinance to the parties involved. That case? Not a screw job, thank you.
No, I don't think I talked to anyone.
Okay,
If
the reason
They
why I'm
talked to
asking-
me,
the reason
I
why
passed
I'm
along other incentives that have been passed over the last 5 or 6 years that I've been here.
So, yes, in the Arctic ones, they don't have to have a term, you can set the term in Arctic, outside of Arctic, and there is one that was outside of Arctic that was a 10-year, that should not have been, probably should not have been approved. According to the ordinance. The ordinance says 6 years, and it actually has the terms for the years. And I'm only going by the ordinance. I mean, that's why it was sent to me and said, and I could say, town planners before this, you were involved in some of those agreements. I went back and looked at all the agreements, whether it was on Pulaski Street, whether it was, that was 6 year. Everything that's been done previous to Maryland was 6 year only outside of our. And again, that's why I'm asking. She wasn't involved in this one, and it's 10 year. I know she was involved in the meat packaging, meat, so, but we're not following our own ordinance, and it should
agree.
be, huh?
I agree.
Well, and again, it's being brought before us, and this ordinance, I mean, I don't have every ordinance in front of me. But if you or anybody knew about this ordinance, why wasn't it said to us last time? Because exactly what's happening here tonight is, first comments out of somebody's mouth is this a screw job? I mean, this is an embarrassment to the council. because we should have been made aware of this well in advance. Should not have been brought to me the day after the council. meeting. That's all I'm saying. Whether you want to authorize a 10-year, a 6-year, or 5-year, I don't even know if we're entitled to at this point.
Sure
So-
we are.
So you guys can discuss it.
So,
but
so,
I brought it up. I'm not trying to hide anything. If I just sat here and didn't say a word tonight,
so I would agree with you that I was surprised to find out there was an ordinance on the books. I was unaware of that until the last meeting. It was brought to our attention then. That being said, having read the ordinance, I think it is actually put in place to allow agreements to be put in place without coming to the council, more on an administrative basis. That's how I read it. So that's the standing ordinance, which would require council intervention. That's my understanding. This is an ordinance that we're asking, someone's come to us for 10 years. Going forward, I absolutely think we should live by 6 years. I absolutely believe to do that at this point in time, I just don't think that's right. Again, we didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. I don't think any of us knew about the ordinance. And I question that because we have had a couple of different agreements come before us. We had Factory Street, we had other people that we actually said no to 10 years to, and we sent them away to come back for 5.
and they're coming back.
And
I've
they,
been answering their questions.
Yep,
And
and-
now this all comes up and, we told them to come back with a 5. We told them to come back, now it's 6. And what's the ability? What's the ability of the council? Jay at the last meeting actually said, you don't want to be God. He wants to be, if this is, if
I
there's
didn't say I don't
something-
want to be God.
No,
No.
but you don't want to be, you don't want to be the person to sit there and say, yes, no, yes, no, that you want.
And I
something.
don't think, I think we're getting off task here. I think we're on this
Yep.
particular one, but everything does relate. I do going forward after tonight, there needs to be something set in place.
Correct.
I don't think this should be appointed administratively. I do think it should come before the council, but there needs to be a formula for us to be able to look at to vote. So if somebody's coming here for 10 years or 6 years, what if I say, oh, you know what? I don't want to give either one. I'll give 8. And you say 4. For what rhyme or reason? It doesn't make any sense.
well,
So, and that's going forward.
Right.
Right now, I know I just get in, I apologize for being late. But we're on this right here, this second reading, correct?
yes,
And everything else is pretty much off task.
yes, Sal.
Okay. When I first read through the ordinance, my reading was that it was the same as an elderly exemption, a veterans exemption, a blind exemption. It was in the code. If they met the requirements that were there, they received the
I would
incentive.
agree with that.
Believe it or
Okay,
not.
that's how I'm reading
Sal,
it.
You're saying
But-
they met the requirements.
but-
There's nothing against them, but I want to point
Okay.
out, you're saying they met the
No,
requirements.
no.
I said,
he's just-
if they
yes.
meet the
Let him
requirements,
listen to what he's saying. He's not talking about.
they
this
go in.
case.
Since we've talked, I've established an application for people to fill out. But up to this point, it hasn't been like that. It's been, you got 2 on Washington Street, you got Factory Street. There was one on Noons that met, industrial that met it. Pulaski Street, I think, met thing. So there's been some that have met, some that have not. They've all become before the council. When people call me up and ask about it, I tell them, this is what the ordinance is. If you meet it, the requirements, I mean, right at this point, everything was going to the council, so I was asking them to talk to Sarah to get on for the docket. But I don't think that if they met that code, they should have to do that.
I don't disagree, but I do believe
But
it's
at
supposed
this
to be a
point,
report.
that everything, I didn't think it was right to pick this case
I agree with
to
you.
start with, because that hadn't been the policy
So
up to this time.
in the policy as far as Arctic area, it goes before the Arctic Redevelopment Commission. And they can set their own term years and recommend to the council. But the ordinance outside of Arctic does not
Well, that,
consider that.
that would go in with Arctic also, because it doesn't say not the Arctic district. It says for the town of West Warwick. So if,
So it's clear that there needs some work. We need to do some work around this ordinance, make sure we understand it. And going forward prospectively, I do believe we have to know what the rules are. And if it's an administrative, yes, the planner and the tax
so from
assessor
this
can.
point forward, if they meet it,
But again, I would make a formal recommendation to the council as to how we'll handle it or work with Mark. So we have some rules and regulations in place. Again, I was surprised that there's an ordinance on the books, had no idea. I think the fact that this is indeed an ordinance coming before us, we certainly can, whether you choose to or not, but we certainly can pass this ordinance. And Al, I would ask you or Tim if there's any prohibition.
Policies and procedures are laid out as to the tax exemption program. If you're going to entertain a ordinance that is outside of the tax incentive program, you'd have to have some type of authority that allows you to do that. So, but right now, there are terms and conditions, policies and procedures in writing as it deals with the tax incentive program. It's not stabilization, it's clearly indicated as a tax incentive program all over section 18, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. It lays out that the applicant has to file the application. Application goes to the planner, building official, and the assessor. Their job is to determine whether the applicant is eligible for the incentive. The application should include the information which this is determination is made. If they determine that the applicant is eligible, then they refer it to the manager. The planner then notifies the applicant of the eligibility, and the tax assessor makes a record of it. And then it moves forward as to obviously the specifics as it relates to the time frame and the dollar amount sought, and how both sides have to come up to an agreement as to the value of the property before the numbers get put into play regarding the assessment. But in the tax incentive program, it's clear that section 1861, where it says alternative tax incentive plans, says the town council hereby establishes a tax incentive plan. Eligible businesses or property owners may elect to take advantage of this plan as follows. And then there's a 6-year incentive. There's an agreement on the assessed values. 1863 terms and conditions clearly indicates that the tax incentive period shall not exceed 6 years. It's clear that it indicates that the business that's going to take advantage of it had to be in existence in the town for a minimum of 5 consecutive years. So a lot of the policies and procedures are already set when you're under the tax incentive plan. If you're going to have an outlier, which is a separate business plan or a separate commercial residential plan. I mean, it doesn't say anything in there that prohibits that. But
Correct.
normally when you put to pen and paper, your stabilization process, and then you call it a tax incentive plan, you're kind of stuck with what you've already enacted. So the question, obviously, right off the bat would be whether or not the applicant is eligible. And in fact, if you wanted to change this now, I don't know where they are as far as their construction and when they're anticipating getting a CO, but a new stabilization plan addressing certain problems, certain issues that the council has looked into, that could be changed. And again, Al, if a new ordinance goes into effect, 2 readings and then 20 days, correct?
So
I'm just saying that's
but that's what this is. This is an ordinance. It's before us.
no, but I mean,
That's great.
I'm answering your question. You asked me about what is already in place versus.
No, I didn't, but that's, okay.
Well,
Yeah. This is another ordinance. That is an ordinance that's in place, has been in place for a number of years. I would agree that it provides guidelines for Sal or for the tax assessor and the town planner to allow that to go forward, working with the town manager. This is a separate ordinance in front of us on a different deal.
well, I don't know how the council can ignore what's already in writing, because under the procedure, the council acts on the ordinance or tax stabilization. If you're acting on a different tax stabilization, I don't know where you find the authority, because it's not.
We don't have
written in
any
the
authority to
ordinances.
do an ordinance.
I didn't say that. I said specifically as to tax stabilization or tax incentives. You can do whatever you want. And you're the town council, you're the legislative body. You want to act on an ordinance, you can. But again, when you've got your own policy and procedure already in play, how do you ignore it?
Didn't we just give one to the meatpacking plant?
We did.
The meatpacking plant, I believe, was a year and a half ago or so.
Right, so my
But
issue,
Again, you already brought it up. That's a different issue.
Right,
If
it's
it was
fine.
done incorrectly, it needs to be corrected.
so
I
my
disagree
issue
with
is,
that.
we met 2 weeks ago. And we all looked at everything. Sal, you came up and spoke, you said everything was, we talked about numbers, all that kind of stuff, and everything was correct. And nobody said a word. And we moved forward and we all voted. Whether we vote yes or no, it's irrelevant. But we all voted. And all of a sudden, we're at the second reading and nothing has changed with the application, correct?
Not to my
I'm
knowledge.
not, I'm not
Sorry.
arguing against anything.
All right,
I'm
no,
just here to
it's,
answer
but since
questions.
nothing has changed, I mean,
I
to be
agree
honest with you, I
you.
don't want to belabor it. I'm not going to change my vote on this. It, and I understand
I-
exactly
do-
what you're saying, Dave. I totally understand. I understand what you're saying,
And I
and everything's in front of us. But all this should have been in front of us prior to 2 Tuesdays ago. And we could have at that point said, you know what, let's deal with it. And so I'll take whatever heat comes out of this. I don't care.
Again, I
Vote.
agree going forward, and quite honestly, Sal, I think we need to look at how we value the things. I think that that's another question that you brought up, Dave, 2 weeks ago. So I think that there has to be some work around that. We all have to agree on maybe how that, but that is
If we go by
prospectively.
what the ordinance says, then there shouldn't be any problem.
So I want to be quite clear. I got an email the following day with the information. If I didn't share that information with this council and in this public, and I would be crucified 2 weeks from now, okay? So.
We
when-
talked about it.
but-
We
but
knew there was
again,
an ordinance,
No matter what.
but we,
But as I said, I think to a couple of you, no matter how I do this, how I talk about it, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm going to bring it out.
absolutely.
Okay, I brought it up to the entire council. I mean, up here publicly. And again, I might not change my vote either. But I look at this and say, okay, administratively, we haven't been doing it. You get 5,000, you get 5,000, you get 5,000, I get 6,000, he gets $5,000 a year. This is becoming a full-time job for this council on people who are making $80,000+ a year. And we end up looking like this tonight because of things like this that are brought out to us a day later. Whether it's from a former employee, whether it's from somebody who used to work here, whether it's somebody who works here, we get it a day later from another department. It's embarrassing. And I hate to put you guys on the spot, but it's embarrassing. Because first words out of his mouth tonight, there comes a screw job. And I'm the bad guy for bringing this up. Okay? And that's why I am
No,
frustrated. here.
so-
I've been frustrated for the last 2 weeks. I sent an email to everybody, the council, and said, do we at least have a meeting with the parties? I shouldn't have that meeting with the parties, but that meeting with the parties never happened. 13 days to figure out and sit down with them and discuss it, so we don't have to go through this embarrassment here tonight. So that's, and at this point, I think they deserve it, but I'm abstaining. Because I think it's illegal.
Why is it illegal to pass an ordinance?
It says 6 years.
No, that's what our standing ordinance says.
I should probably shut up and not say anything, but I just can't sit there and listen. I think for the record, I'm Brian Moyle, 132 Rollingwood Drive. I'm a 50% owner in FJN. I drafted all the language. We discussed that last meeting. I think one good thing, I think one bad thing that lawyers, no disrespect to them, do is they always put out clauses in ordinances. And there's so much ambiguity in all of them, where you have the solicitor that has one interpretation, council vice president Williamson has a different interpretation. Jason's looking for like check boxes to do. It doesn't exist. But if you read the ordinance, there is an out clause in the ordinance that you guys are not paying attention to. It talks about supplemental agreements that you as the body have the ability to do. And if you read the subchapters of that, the only requirements of those supplements is that the business exists in the town for 5 years and that all municipal taxes are paid. And I'm just paraphrasing those lines. Both of those are in place. If when we went back at the infancy of this project, it was never brought to our attention that a tax stabilization program even existed. When we sat down with the planner, we sat down with the DPW director, the fire chief, when we first started this process. I think it's the job of this government, whether it's at the council level or at the administrative level, for a new business that's willing to invest the money that we're investing in this community, that you should be, I'm going to refrain, that you should be bringing these programs before potential investors. Never was it brought before us. So for now, at the 13th hour, and I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I specifically asked after you guys, and I thanked you for it last time, do I even need to be here tonight? And because of my gut feeling of how politics works, and I'm not calling anyone politics, this is nationwide, this isn't West Warwick, that I have to take time, as does John and as does Derek, who are regular visitors to these meetings, but I'm not. And I'm happy to be here, but it's taking time away from my personal family business, and this is worth it for me. If our project has to set an example to fix the problem, then so be it. But I'm being blunt, over my dead body, I'll fight this to the US Supreme Court if I have to. Because our civil rights are being violated for this. So I just want, I'm sorry to be passionate and animated, but we all can be, and this is enough. Like, I agree. I shouldn't even be here. You said it's a procedural thing. Nothing's changed. No one's complained. Vote it. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yes, Mr. Goslin, I do have a comment. This was going forward. This should have been up for a vote, second reading. Tonight, you're introducing something ex post facto. And as Mrs. Williamson pointed out, and I don't usually agree with him, you have the power to pass an ordinance. There's a major issue here. And I'm going off topic this because we had Med Recycler come into the town. And he complied and did everything he was told by this town to do. He sunk a lot of money into this town. Maybe he thought it was a done deal, but he complied with every task and requirement laid out by the town of West Warwick, the planning board, etc. And in the end, we brought it up to DEM and they put the kibosh on it. But you over and over again, you said you're embarrassed. You should be embarrassed for the way you conduct business. I brought this up before, the way this town conducts business, and enough is enough. You have Mr. Williamson pulling things out of the air to justify what I perceive as a preconceived decision. You can vote any way you want. This is your right. However, this is the town of West Warwick. The people here should know how it goes, okay? What they have to do, put the check in the box. It's that simple. It's not changing the rules in the middle of the game.
I would appreciate if you could just lower it a bit,
I
Mr. Palazzo.
have
Just a
problems.
bit, yes.
I have problems with the hearing, so
Okay. Well, we don't, yes. Okay.
no. Well, I do have an issue that, well, I'll bring it up later with regard to how many microphones are up.
John Reed, 62 Andrews Avenue. I agree with Brian, okay? Just because of the way he was correct, this is national politics, is a very dirty game, okay? That we had to strategize today, anticipating doing this, even though we were told this was procedural, and it should have been procedural. You people made a decision 2 weeks ago unanimously to pass this because you don't understand or have the right regulations in front of you, that is not my problem.
I blame you.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm not looking for an
I'm not
argument.
blaming anybody.
I'm saying, we've been saying this a long time. And,
As far as your parties, I'm sorry, I'm not blaming anybody in your party.
okay, but this whole thing goes back 6 years where it's the same scenario, okay? Everybody up here was convinced that there was no Noons Lane, there was no this, no. Okay, I took it all the way to Supreme Court. Guess what? It come to find out the solicitor didn't know what he was talking about, and that's from the Supreme Court order. You've all seen it. If not, I'll get you copies of it. At some point in time, okay, it's hard to run a business, never mind the council. You don't have a full-time job, I get it. But if your administrators can't do the job and make us constituents go through this over and over and over, it's not only ridiculous and embarrassing, it's stupid. Like I said before, you people are the chairman of the board. We own the corporation. You people are not doing us any services by doing this. So whether you pass it or don't pass it, we've already looked at our next steps. You do what you want to do, okay? But I'm tired of having my rights violated. Okay, I let it happen once, where I could have made a lot of money on this town, but I let it pass. That will never, ever happen again.
Any other public comment?
Again, I do believe that we have the ability to pass an ordinance. We pass them every meeting. This is, we've done it. Quality meat's been discussed. I agree, going forward, we need to have a plan in place. We have to understand how we're going to operate going forward. And I agree with you, David. It is an embarrassment that none of the council members knew that there was an ordinance in place already. So it's frustrating, but we should do the right thing. Moving forward, I agree, we have work to do. Paul?
Paul Villa, 15 Janet Drive. As you all know, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart all the time, because I still don't know why we're giving tax incentives to residential properties. I just don't. In this particular instance, this is a business which I believe the incentives are for. And I'm not just talking about this particular business, Quality Foods, or whoever comes in here. These are businesses that are coming in with substantial investment. They're coming in with fire alarm systems. They very rarely call police. They don't put any kids in our school systems. And yet it pains me to know that no one approaches businesses and tells them, hey, by the way, you can apply for this tax incentive program. Okay, and I get there's an issue between 6 years and 10 years. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to Arctic, I'd like to know how we get one of those districts in every part of the town, because they seems like they get to have all the say in what happens in Arctic. And I have a question relative to that as an ordinance. When I asked about tax incentive for the Arctic district, they told me they recommend to you.
That's correct.
And you actually do.
That's
For
correct.
For certain, for that.
No,
Everything in the audience.
yes.
Well, I got to be totally honest with you, sitting back there listening to the thought process about putting an administrative ordinance in place where these things can be done administratively, I don't think that should happen.
It's in place now.
Right, but it
Yes.
should come before you. You are the legislative body. I'm not saying you got to go crazy. If the department heads bring it to you and they put it on record that this is what we looked at, but you guys, as a council, should make that vote. Taxpayers in this town need to know where the tax money is going, because we're not getting any breaks.
Yep.
Okay, and I'd like to know how I incorporate a business down at my house so I can get one of these damn things. Okay, but it seems that I don't understand, if you have to be in business for 5 years, how do people who are building residential units, how do they get these tax incentives? Then they are technically in business, but they're not in business in West Warwick. They're in business in Exeter and Coventry and Gloucester and all these other places. They just come here, they make their buildings, they get their tax incentives, and we get stuck paying the bills.
I think, Paul, thank you. I think, Paul, as we started out, it's come to our attention. I think And my opinion, just mine, prospectively, we need to sit down, we need to have a recommendation, we have to have rules, procedures, understand. I don't disagree that town council should have a say.
Well, you
If
should
it
be, the-
hold, if it holds up business, I'd like to think they were open for business. I think another part
Well,
of
we're
the,
not.
but we should be.
We should
but
be,
That's
yes.
right. I think another part of the ordinance does talk about a report is supposed to be given, if indeed it is administrative. That can be changed. I think what we will do is look at that ordinance and find out how we should change it going forward to make it work for everybody and to maybe be as pro-business as we can.
well,
Yeah.
I think we should, and I've said this before, that at least at a regular interval, we should have town planners here and people and have them tell the public who they're marketing this town to. Because all I see, and I'm here all the time, is it's getting marketed to people who want to build apartments and condominiums. And that's about it. And you know, the unfairness of that all is we had one developer who builds quite a few units in this town, who was here on a project a couple of weeks ago, and he's paying his taxes. He doesn't have any incentive program. Then you have other people who are getting incentives, okay? So I don't think that's quite fair either. And if you have to be in business to get these incentives, you have to be in business in town. That's the way it should be.
Ken, I believe that's a discussion and a long discussion that we would charge the department heads and the town manager with to bring it before the council as to what we should do what we should be doing going forward. I don't think that tonight is the night to be
No,
discussing it.
but if you're gonna pass an ordinance.
Yes,
We've
I
also
mean,
set,
well-
I know the Arctic is separate, but we set a precedence by already approving quality foods.
That's-
That's an easy one, right? So I think it's easy.
Yes.
I think going forward, we need to revisit this, but I think
I
tonight's
agree.
not
Yeah,
to
agree.
change it. I don't think
And-
that makes sense at all.
I
We
agree.
all
I
did
get
vote on it
the- I
before. I
get
know
the
that you're gonna be
problem
shocked
tonight,
that I'm the one
but
saying
I-
that, but it doesn't make sense
I
to do
just don't
that.
want to see the town pass any ordinances like quickly that makes things worse.
no,
Yeah,
well,
We need to review, we need to
this
revisit this
specific,
ordinance.
this specific ordinance that's in front of us tonight, I believe we do have the right to pass. The overall ordinance, I agree with you,
We need to revisit
we need to revisit.
soon.
And the process and procedures and pricing
Everything.
and
It's the
valuing the
whole
whole
thing.
thing.
It's
That's
the whole
correct.
Yeah, because we need to have, we need to have a formula. It shouldn't just be, I mean, there needs to be a
A
set
method,
parameters.
a method.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, and of course,
But
there,
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
of course, it's subjective. There are times when you may need to, well, whatever we have in the ordinance, maybe you have to adjust things slightly, but they shouldn't just be, pulling straws.
No, that's correct.
Like I said earlier, I didn't say nothing.
No.
And I,
You are
There's nothing
absolutely
wrong with
right.
it. No,
You're
there's-
I want to
absolute-
comment to that. I want to comment to that. It's a really tough situation, for you. When you sent that out to us, it was after everything had been done. We had all voted, it was after the meeting. So it doesn't matter which one of us got it, but you sent that to us. Now I know in my mind, I'm looking at, all right, I just voted on this. This came before us. Why didn't anybody say anything? And I'm not picking on you at all. There's been many times where things been brought to our attention. And we, as a council, if one, two, or three, whoever many, would question whether it's a bid that's come up and the process isn't followed. Nobody wants to be nobody wants to be the bad guy up here. But if you notice something, you have to say it. And you did have to say it tonight,
Absolutely,
Dave.
absolutely.
So it's out there, it's all transparent, but I think going forward, we already talked about this. If you're expecting, and I'm only gonna speak for me, if I'm expecting to vote on something, then the information needs to be correct. And I don't work for the town of West Warwick. I worked for municipal government for a long, long time. And I know the consequences if I did some of the things that were done before the council. It wouldn't go well. And I'm just looking at going forward, if I'm voting on something, it needs to be correct. If it's not, I'm just not gonna vote. And I'm not gonna encourage anybody to do the same thing, but it's not really fair. We do look like idiots up here when this happens. Same as all of you would if you were up here. So, can we vote?
Oh, one question for you. This ordinance before us tonight. People on this one.
I have to say yes. Because it was prior to, just so it's aware that after the fact was when it got referred to me. I did the study I did, came up with it, but that was after the fact. And I don't think with the past history you've had, it would be proper to all of a sudden say, we can't go forward. I think you've got to go forward tonight. End of story, start tomorrow with somebody doing some work on where you go from there.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
Due to Al's recommendation, I'll vote yes.
thank you.
Second reading of amended ordinance 2023-24, amending chapter 11.5 Courts, Municipal and Probate, Section 2, Appointment Term and Qualifications of Municipal Court Judge, and Section 3, Assistant Municipal Court Judge.
Move the ordinance.
Second?
Second.
From the last time it was before you, the only change that was made was that the term went from 2 to 5 years for the judge and the associate judge. And we added, there was a provision that the associate judge had to have legal malpractice. A provision was added that the judge has to have legal malpractice. It's required by the Supreme Court anyway, but I think it should be in the ordinance.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
I'm gonna vote no, because I believe that the judge should have some relation to the town of West Warwick, because they are going to be a judge in West Warwick.
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
Okay. That should be in Westboro, right?
you changed your vote.
I looked at it over the last 2 weeks and I honestly feel that it should be a Westboro resident.
I'm not voting no because it should be a resident. I think there needs to be a tie. Whether a business in town, grew up in town and left, or lives in town now, then needs to be some type of a tie to West Warwick. That's what I said at the last meeting. I'm not changing my mind.
The only comment I can have is all of us attorneys are approved by the Supreme Court to act statewide. And I personally feel that with conditions the way they are, there is nothing that prohibits you if you get an application from the town to appoint that person. But I think strictly my personal feeling that limiting it to West Warwick attorney is you are cutting off a heck of a lot of great talent that's out there that may not be. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause-
Yeah, I'm looking at it, that you got a bigger pool. Nothing says you can't stay in your own town, but you got a bigger
but
pool.
we'd still be interviewing the prospective judge, right? I mean, so, I mean, my theory, we could still ask them, I mean, again, if somebody comes here and we believe they have no knowledge of the town of West Warwick, we have our discretion to not select them, that's like for any position. I mean, I feel the same with the town manager. I think it works better to have somebody living here or having a connection to the town than somebody from the outside, but
That was just my personal feeling on it.
I'm torn. I really am. So. But I think you're right there. So I'll re-vote. Okay?
Just vote.
called a revote.
I didn't change it, no.
Okay? I'm sorry, somebody's gonna make a motion.
Make them, what, we've never done it. What do I make a motion for, to revote? Yeah. Well, I don't know, did David say anything? Did David make a vote?
I just said I agree with Jay.
But David didn't
I
make
think
it.
I want to say no, but.
David didn't.
Was there a vote?
No vote was taken.
He said he,
Hold on.
Gentlemen, I said I'm agreeing with
Jason-
Jay, and right now. I'm
Jason
at a
voted,
no.
Jason voted.
Three of us voted, Dave didn't
David
vote, so
did
it's
not-
Dave's turn.
so
to
yeah,
vote.
we don't
So
have-
when I said,
No, exactly.
I'll change me to yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't find qualified candidate in West Warwick.
That's,
well, we'll-
I mean, not for nothing, we're shipping all this money out. You got qualified people.
There's nothing that stops qualified. Yeah. If you got qualified, yeah,
3-1.
they can appoint.
I don't.
We put it out there twice. We've had 2 applicants.
First reading of ordinance 2023-18, amending section 3 definitions and section 5 use regulations.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Second.
The purpose of this ordinance, over the years, we've had a number of requests to come into town with self-storage. The self-storage business has changed completely from a spot in a vacant mill that you hope wasn't leaking to what are now the self-storage facilities that are multi-million-dollar projects. And I think that this came from the town planner, that to open up this ability to bring in self-storage. That's what this ordinance does. And the ordinance is clear. No residents in the self-storage. It's for personal type things, which is becoming a very big market. And I think it's a very wise business incentive for the town.
Any questions for Al? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
I vote yes.
Thank you.
thank you, Al.
Business licenses.
Move approval of business licenses H0 through, I guess the whole thing, right? 0 through 12.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Going, approved? We appoint at the
I know,
same
that's
time.
right.
Appointments and resignations. Request from Thomas Zampa for reappointment to the West Warwick Housing Authority for term ending November 2028.
Move the name of Tom Zonka.
Second.
Moving second, Tom's been on there for a little while now. I think he's doing a good job as far as I know. but- Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resignation of Joshua Barrett,
Barrett.
from the
Okay.
West Warwick Housing Authority.
I will actually, with regret, move that we approve the resignation or accept the resignation of Josh Barrett from the Housing Authority.
Second.
Moving second, Josh has been on there for, I think, 6 years now. Says he wants to focus more on the planning board. I know he became vice chair there. It's gonna be a big loss here because I know he's always kept us from. Especially Jay and I, because the 2 buildings are in our wards, he's always let us know what's going on. So that's gonna be a loss to the group. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Senator, thank you.
New business, September 2023 monthly finance report.
Good evening, council. Current year tax collection, that is very loud. Current year tax collections total 22,062,886.86, which is 33.48% of the budget for current year taxes. We have collected 1 quarter. However, as I say every year at this time, quite a few taxpayers pay their entire bill when they receive it, and it skews the amount collected for the first 3 months of the fiscal year. And it will smooth out as the quarters progress. Prior year tax collections total 56,686.99, which is equal to 4.36% of the budget amount, but the line has been adjusted by $388,262.80 for the 60-day rule, which we accrued back to fiscal year 23. Overall, the revenues are at 30.02%. which is higher than the expected 25%. This is mainly attributed to strong tax collections and higher than expected building and town clerk revenues. Expenditures are trending under budget, 22.41%, which is 2.59% below the expected 25%. The Civic Center has current operating expenditures of 186,553.53 and operating revenues of 137,745.34. The bank balance as of October 6th is $9,279,968.36. I have moved an additional $6 million into an interest-bearing sweep account at Citizens Bank, and we've earned $16,592.73 in the first month in interest. We have also earned $199,205.11 in interest on our ARPA funds that are invested at Sunderland Bank. Preparations for the 23 audit have commenced. They actually came in today and yesterday and did everything they needed to do in 2 days. So,
Really?
yep. The team will, well, they arrived and they're done and that's it.
There's not 9 million, that's cash reserve, right?
Yes. Well, it's our
No.
cash on hand, right? It's not our, it's what we have for pooled cash
You-
right now.
What rate are we getting at Centerville? Do you know?
I believe it was 4.5. I gotta double check that with Mario.
Long time since I've been
Yeah.
I know, and I'm taking advantage of it. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm taking advantage of it.
Because you can, yeah,
Exactly.
and most of them are either short-term or,
Well, one of them is a 6-month CD.
Yep.
Which we made 90,000 in 6 months.
Yeah.
And now we're in our second.
it's very.
yeah.
And I assume the shortfall at the Civic Center is just the timing.
Exactly. Yeah. I spoke to Lori about it and she said by November, it should be turning the other way.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Kristen? Thank you, Kristen.
Welcome.
Amendments to Resolution 2013-180, Appendix B, fees and charges of the town of West Warwick.
Move the resolution.
Second,
We're down to blue. We went through the yellow, we went through the green. and we're
Yeah,
down to
exactly.
blue colors. The only changes that have been made since the yellow was approved and the green was approved is when I was before you the last time, there was a question that came up that if the engineers approve sewer and runoff projects, and they come back when the report comes in, it's not correct, and they gotta re-review it. What we want to charge for that review. It turns out that I talked with Jim on it, and it was almost impossible for him to give you a set figure, because it depended on who reviewed it. Did it take 15 minutes or did it take 4 hours? So in discussions with Mark or with Jim, in all of those situations, or any review that came in, they suggested that $200 an hour was a good fee for the town, and it was fair to the applicants. So that was the change that was made in the planning section. The change that was made in the recreation section was that with each of the different fields, we had a different figure for the rental of it. That has been changed to $70 an hour for all of the fields. I understand that Jay and Jeff worked on that. The other change that was made was that for all tournaments, including no-fee leagues, would pay $140 for 2-hour blocks. And the last change that was made was that in the summer basketball, it was $10 for any out-of-town child. That was basically what we came before you that had been worked on since the last time I was here.
Any questions for Al?
So they're all, yeah, so they're all $70 now? With lights, without lights, is
Well,
that?
hang on. So Jeff brought this to me. I was looking at this and I voted no on this, well, however we did it. I was against it because it didn't make sense to me because it was all over the place. as far as a $70 or $30 or $150 an hour, that's not
No.
up to me to set, and I don't want to be part of that. I think that's up to Jeff to do that.
I didn't.
And
mean
bring it
that way.
forward like he's doing with us.
I just meant the change had been, that you're aware of. The
I was
change
aware of the
was made.
change, yep. The only other thing I would like to add with this, and I don't know if we should even put this in here or it belongs in here, but I think a lot of money can be generated through recreation, as Jeff has mentioned to us. And we put a lot of money into these fields, and that money is now gone. Now we're left with maintenance. And there's enough fields in town that require water and upgrades, and everything's great right now because it's just done.
I would say
But
that this
can we
is-
put that in there
no,
where,
this is strictly fees. I think that's a separate category that you should address separately and take how you want to handle it. I don't think you should say, okay, we're going to charge everybody X number of dollars so we can go to maintenance. I think that's a situation where Jeff has to sit down and come up with something. And at that point in time, whether it's in your appendix B fee agreement or whether it's in a separate appendix or whatever, but I don't think that, I think it's, should be addressed. I just don't think
it's not the
this
place?
is the document
Okay,
to address it in.
thank you.
Yeah.
The one other item that we didn't discuss that's on here is 2 sewer-related fees that were part of the 3 things that we hadn't discussed in the past. So,
That was the $70.
That's a two, no,
That
the
was
two-
no, that was the
$200.
$200.
200, up to $200.
Yes.
But there were 2 wastewater fees that they're recommending,
Oh.
were recommending. They just weren't here on that, the night the
What?
first time. So
Okay.
I just wanted to give them an opportunity to share their thought process on those 2 particular fees. And there were a couple other that were highlighted that had been approved a long time ago, just that the fee schedule was not updated after that.
So as I look at this schedule, sorry, and you have it in front of you, Mark, well, it doesn't look like you have the color version, do you?
I have the blue
Okay.
one.
So Recreation Department, can't tell what. Right at the beginning, that last line on the first page of Recreation Department. So it says $70 an hour, but then it says 60-90 practice game. Should that be crossed out? What am I,
That one's crossed out. The line to the left is crossed out. The line should just continue
okay, and there's a similar situation.
to above it.
All the way through, they get
Okay.
crossed out.
Okay. And then the last piece being all tournaments, including no fee leagues. Just want to make sure everybody understands that $140 for a 2-hour block.
Which is $70 an hour.
Yep. But a 2-hour, it looks like it's a 2-hour minimum. Yeah,
That's my typing.
no, that's okay. Yeah, same thing in the girls softball thing, it's crossed out, and if there's a 60-90, that probably should be also just a correction.
Those will not be amendments, those are just typographic.
Yes. I agree with you.
Any other questions for Ralph? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye,
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Yes.
it's done.
Resolution authorizing payment for the Town Council Chambers Audio Upgrades Project from American Rescue Plan funds.
I assume that there is a large. Yes, move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Mark?
Just as a quick update, obviously Sarah's brought forward some concerns and complaints that she got of various audio quality, whether it's in the room or on Zoom. So we had a representative from an MPA related company come out and do an assessment here and look at the equipment we have, came forward with a recommendation that involves upgrading some of the hardware we have here, adding ambient microphones above our head to solve some of those problems, which will also make it easier for sound coming from the front, and a second jack here so we can move a hardwired mic as we get delivery of our podium and move it wherever we like. So that one, we're just looking to award that bid to PMA Industries of Johnston. They're on the state's master price agreement in the amount of $6,116 and use American Rescue Plan funds to finalize that project.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing change order to the 2023 roadway improvements bid in use of American Rescue Plan funds.
Move the resolution.
Second.
So this is for getting the walkways between the ice rink and Civic Center finished. Obviously, we have the memorial that's been completed. The town would like to move forward on the front portion, the biggest part of which would be fixing the walkways there. So this would be a change order to our roadway bid that Neozi received in 2023-11. They're going to honor their pricing for that. And I'm recommending that we use American Rescue Plan funds and encumber up to $20,000 to get that work done. And they'd like to do it within a week.
Any questions for Mark on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Proclamation celebrating Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2023.
Move the proclamation.
Second.
Move second, any discussion?
Should all go the extra mile, I guess. But
Get in trouble when you do that.
Sometimes.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. West Warwick Housing Authority, appointment or reappointment for 5-year term expiring November 2027. Planning Board, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for term ending July 2027. And Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for 3-year term. Public forum.
Public comment.
Good evening, Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. David, the bad guy. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Thank you for bringing that forward because I think there was some great productive discussion from that. Had you not, Lord knows where that would have gone next meeting. So thank you. Ordinances. We have ordinances here. First of all, I'd like to thank the DPW for the beautiful parking lot they put in. Nice concrete parking area that they put in at the end of Pulaski Street. Very, very nice. You look puzzled. It's actually a sidewalk. They no longer took the cones away and the danger tape away. Then we had the big monster F-350 pickup truck parked up on there for a couple of days, up on the sidewalk that they just repaired. These sidewalks are not meant for parking. They're meant for pedestrians. Everywhere you look in this town, there's a problem with people parking. I believe the DPW worked with the state when they did Main Street from AJ's down on the westerly side of Main Street. They had that line bumped out. So there's more, the shadow line from the edge of the destroyed sidewalks to the shadow line. There's more than enough room to park a vehicle, yet they still park on the sidewalk. You have a couple of interesting fellows in the go-karts that ride in the streets. They're all over the place. They're gonna get killed. But you see spots where they can't ride on the sidewalk because of automobiles. They're destroying the sidewalks in this community that are meant for old folks, young folks, moms and dads with their baby buggies, walkers and so on. The sidewalks are destroyed and these cars parking on it are making it worse. We need to start enforcing it because it is an ordinance, if I'm not mistaken. We're not allowed to park on sidewalks.
I've been getting some, now that Goff Ave's done with new sidewalks, people are parking on the brand new sidewalks. They got a
Exactly.
crack because they're not even 30 days old and they're putting that weight on top of it. Then they're gonna call me and say they got a cracked sidewalk.
Exactly. Now, I know on Main Street, when the shadow line was 2 feet from the sidewalk, they used to park there. Or, the whole length, from Chris Goslin's house all the way back. They would be parked on the sidewalk. And it's not for lack of parking, because behind every one of those tenement buildings down the hill, there's all parking back there, but it's a lot easier to park on the sidewalk and walk 4 feet into your door. That's something that has to be addressed.
On one of those houses. Next door.
Well, that could be true, but now with the shadow line that's been bumped out, there's no excuse. We parking, 10 to 11 inches, not even a foot from a fire hydrant, where the front of your truck is here and the fire hydrant is here, and there's absolutely no way to get a line drop heading south on Main Street at Murray Square. There's no way for the fire department to drop a line on there. They can go the other way. They'll protect the FOP, but if any of those tenements go, they can't hook up. Now, it was questioned whether or not that fire hydrant was on private property. Don't believe a fire hydrant, whether it's on private property or not, it's still, you can't park within, I don't know if it's 10 feet of a hydrant or whatever the rule is, but not 10 inches. And there's a truck that's parked there across from the FOP all day, every day that you drive by, and it's blocking that hydrant. And I know there's a question because the sidewalk is about maybe 12 feet wide. Because back in the day, when they had all the problems at Murray Square, they bumped everything out. They put a big dig, I don't know what you want to call it, but they bridged that sidewalk way out into the intersection to stop the cars from, 3 directions at once. But these ordinances need to be adhered to, or we're gonna just keep repairing sidewalks and having more and more problems with that. David, you mentioned the pay that you guys get, which is understandable. I know you guys put in a ton of work. It's not just sitting at these meetings. You do it all day, every day. But if we go back a number of years, and I think Mary Beth, I think it was her second or third meeting as a council person for Ward 1, there was a motion that was voted on, and it was unanimous about paying a stipend to members of all committees and boards for the time they serve for these meetings, and it was supposed to take effect way back then. I've never heard anything.
I'm not
further.
sure that ever formally came before the council. I'd have to go back and look at that, Tom.
Yep.
There was discussion. There's no question there was discussion, but I don't know that it was ever formally brought forward.
I don't believe so, but that is a project that we're working on
Yes.
to make a list on which boards have been approved, how much was approved, and how it gets dispersed. We should have that shortly.
For some reason, I have it in my notes somewhere, and I've got to dig it out, the meeting, but I wonder if Sarah might be able to check back then if there's like a search bar to find out about stipends, because I know it was mentioned, it was on the agenda, and
I believe it was during budget talks, and I remember I was home. I was actually sitting on
That was
my
COVID. I
couch
was, I
during
remember,
COVID,
I remember, I was, yeah.
and we talked about pricing of who would get 50, who would get 25.
I don't think it ever went anywhere though, did
It
it?
didn't, so I don't know. I mean, and I brought that up too. If,
For some reason, I think
allotment
it
for
went
each
to a
board.
vote, and I was rather stunned, to be completely honest with you, because I thought this was something that all good citizens did for their community. Step up to the plate, you donate your time, like the juvenile hearing board that I currently sit on. I don't need to go there on the second Wednesday of the month. I could stay home and watch Judge Judy. But I go there to put my time in and try to coach the kids. And I was kind of stunned to find out that all these other committees, or not all of them,
And they
but
don't
many of
all, and I
them.
think that that was part of the work that needed to be done, and I'm not sure it was ever done, to be honest with you, Tom. So Mark is, and I'm sure working with
Okay,
Sarah
great.
to do that.
And like
Yes.
I said, it's not, I'm looking to get paid up for anything, but it's the fact that it was there, it was discussed, and I just have it that it was a vote. And just like to look into that. And that's all I have. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Alan? Alan Plazo, 5 Robin Lane. And Colonel Knott, you piqued my interest today. I heard a mention of a podium.
It's complete and they expect to be here next month.
Outstanding. I can cross it off my list. Okay, with regarding needles in this town, sharps disposal, DPW types, people around, do we have a protocol in town for sharps disposal? The ones that are on the street, on the bike path, no longer in a gazebo, but is anybody going to address that?
I can't even answer. I don't even know if there's a procedure.
Are we going to look into it?
Chief Varone?
His people are the ones I'm worried about. His people and the police.
The fire department is very familiar with that. If we come across them, we'd be very happy to pick them up and put them in a shop's container. Now, for DPW, you mentioned perhaps we could do some sort of training for them so that they can handle that safely. But that, would have to be looked into.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Speaking of the gazebo, what's the schedule for completion of repairs?
I think you've probably driven by, the Parks and Rec and DPW folks are finishing up the bathroom roof and I believe some staining and repair of the under roof of the gazebo. So everything, with the exception of some of the rock refacing, is expected to be done within a week and a half. If we want to discuss it in another agenda on the opening protocol, or obviously I'll report back on
I think
what
we
we
should.
talked about a few weeks ago.
I think we should.
But it should be ready in plenty of time for the decorations to start flowing for the Christmas tree lighting.
Along the same line, do we have a ordinance in town relating to vagrancy? And do we enforce it? Because I see things being posted where people are no longer at the gazebo, but they're moving out all over the town. So the council's gonna just ignore what's gonna happen again.
Not really.
No. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Can we discuss it at the next council meeting?
We'll do some work here and we'll figure out if it's appropriate to be on the council agenda then, but at some point. Yes.
Okay. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expect a different result.
I agree with you.
Okay, senior tax study, where do we stand with that?
It's ongoing.
So is the war in Ukraine, till however long it takes, right? No, that's something we need. to
No,
get done.
listen, I'm working with Sal on that. It's not something that needs to be reported right now because it's just gonna spark a lot of unnecessary discussion And we're still working things out. So,
Okay, how about working with the General Assembly types
Is it-
to,
Alan, it doesn't happen overnight. I don't want to bring something to the table and then all of a sudden, everybody and their brother be able to pick it apart.
okay,
It's not
I
the
just-
goal with, that's not the goal with it, and that's not how I operate. So
okay. How about the Municipal Veterans Affairs Officer? I've been told that, quote, the Veterans Council no longer exists, so how about we move on that? I had mentioned Deb Schusterman last time around. I think she first brought it up 8 years ago. Again, last year, I was recently informed the Veterans Council is not here, which I believe you advocated for them to take that responsibility. Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't hear they're no longer here.
Okay. They're in
Only one
Florida.
gentleman's in Florida, but as far as,
Uh,
but again, Rob there you go. I can never pronounce his last name. Moved to Florida. Charlie Petrarca and group have been in charge for the past year and a half, so. First I'm hearing they're no longer together, so.
You brought him here, so, I'm advocating
can
for
reach out to
the
Charlie.
appointment of a municipal Veterans Affairs Officer. Anyone familiar with Kipling's poem, Tommy, Tommy this, Tommy that, until the bullets start to fly? We pay lip service to veterans on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, but no one really seems to advocate for them actively. So I'll put that out there again. Child Inc., still $1 a year to the town of West Warwick. Since their offer, to buy the town for a ridiculous price. So no one's looking at that either.
Yes. it's
Oh, we
being worked
are?
on. It's being
Okay.
worked on.
I think we said that last
And when
meeting.
there's a resolution, we'll discuss it.
Okay, I'm not sure if anyone's aware, someone posted on social media again, there's a porta potty down at the soccer field that apparently, or has allegedly not been emptied in a year. I was just wondering on that, I believe it's United Site Service is the tag on the picture that was displayed. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. You can't fix it if you don't know it's broke. I asked about the Lippert Mill. Where do we stand with Lippert Mill?
It's in court.
It's in court. Okay. I'm afraid it might go up in flames and the chief's people will end up practicing with it, but I think it's something we need to look at. Along the same lines, I drove by Rock's Market, formerly Rock's Market tonight. There was a dumpster there. People were working in it. Does anyone have an upgrade for it? Is it going to be the church community center? Is it coming off the tax rolls?
As far as I know, it's a church. I don't know what the name of the church is. I don't know what type of church it is, so.
Is it coming off the tax rolls?
I don't know that answer either. So I believe there was a purchase and sale.
Mhm.
that's in my ward. I will figure that out.
All
I'll
right.
get back. What I did see a couple weeks ago on a weekend was the entire lot was full.
Oh, last night too.
So I don't know if, again, it's really, if it's private sale, it's really not my business, but it's, one weekend you have it full of people. And then, a couple of days later, you have a dumpster there and they're working in
There were
it.
about
So,
10 or 15 cars there tonight.
so it's either operational or it's not, and I don't know that. So.
Okay, we discussed having patrols here in Arctic. I know the chief's probably not happy. I'm at beat patrol. I was just wondering if we even considered purchasing segways for the officers so help them. I mean, a lot of communities, I travel an awful lot and I'm not sure if it's something the West Warwick Police Department would accept or embrace, but it'd be,
I say we have a lot of on the job injuries if we go segways.
I don't know.
No. Segways is not an option.
Probably not.
Seriously? I mean, we're spending all this COVID money on everything.
Bicycles are healthier for you.
It's just something maybe the chief's officers want to walk through Arctic again. I know Back when I was a kid, that's what they used to do. And lastly, every once in a while, two wonderful ladies who do crossing guard duty attend the meetings. And I was just wondering, where do we stand with increasing their pay? Because people at McDonald's make more money than they do. And they're out there in all kinds of weather. It's been brought up several times. And are you looking at it, exploring it with the police department, with the school department?
Yes,
Put it on the list for next time, and that's it.
But I don't think,
Have-
I'm gonna address that. I personally don't think that's a town council issue. I agree, they should be making more money based on what they do. But to me, that's not our decision up here. That's an internal decision among the departments that are paying them.
Councilman Charlie, I disagree with you on that.
That's okay. It's all right. But I still think it's
Standing
a
by
council.
and being silent when there is obviously a problem is not the way to address the problem. I'm
But-
very vocal about
I'm
stuff
not-
like this.
I'm not addressing the problem. I think the problem needs to be handled by the appropriate people, and we should be made aware of it. But I don't think it's our decision as a council for that.
How long has it been there? And shouldn't you inquire to the
and-
appropriate
absolutely,
department?
that- and it's-
absolutely
There's
have
something being
inquired,
done.
and it's being worked on.
So is the war in Ukraine.
You repeat yourself.
Dennis Quintel, 153, the Briss Ave, West Warwick. I'm nice and light today. I would just like to know what our plans on for the elections, considering that we have these two licenses, one for federal use and one for not. Because I've been using my not for federal use for the past 4 elections. And
I'm not sure what you're
driver's
talking about.
license, in order to go in order to vote, you have to give me a license, correct?
Correct. Has nothing to do with us.
They're now getting them in. Huh? Yeah, no, but I'm just saying.
So address us, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
secondly, we have nothing to do
That's
with
not our,
licenses in
that
the
had
voting.
nothing control.
Well, they're not licenses, but as far as securing elections is what I'm really asking.
So again, this town council has nothing to do with securing elections.
But we vote for town councilman, correct?
Yes, you do, but we are not the Board of Elections. You can go to the state of Rhode Island and we want to bring it up to
I'm sure
them.
the town clerk
Yeah,
could
yeah.
add, I'm sure the town clerk can add
wanna
to
make
that.
sure There's good information going around out there. The licenses that are given to,
The working IDs, correct?
right, they have a different barcode than the one that you have for yourself. So if someone presented it to go vote and they are under that special license, whatever they're calling it, it would come up that they're not registered.
What about all the
They
people?
would not be allowed to vote.
What about all the people that are getting registered not through the registration system, but for the people just walking into like a Stop and Shop? Say, hey, you registered to vote today? Why don't you come register? You got an ID? It's still the same
Right,
general
but
scenario.
when, right, and you could register anybody, but when they came to vote,
Right.
if they're not, if they don't have it,
Valid.
right, they wouldn't be able to.
Well,
vote.
that's the thing. A lot
You
of,
have to have a
a lot
valid
of
ID
places
to
are
vote.
coming in with, oh, you're coming into a vote and you don't have an ID, come right in. We'll register you to vote right here.
Yeah, well, you can't do that at the polling location in order to get a ballot. you
I'm
have to
just
show-
making sure because
No,
I'm
want-
seeing a
I-
lot of nonsense going on right now.
I agree, there's a lot of bad information out there right now, but those people would not be allowed to. they
Right.
walk into a polling
Um,
location.
Secondary, me and Derek had this conversation online. When did it stop being against the law to be drunk in public, have drugs in public? If you get caught having something on you, 9/10 of the law.
I read the law into the record. I forgot when I was.
But now this is what we're having. We're having needles all over the place. We're having alcohol bottles all over the place. We're having homeless all over. the place. Oh, I do, on a regular basis. And third, on a lighter note, we have a beautiful dam down here. How come we can't utilize something like hydroelectric? We have New England Tech with mechanical engineering degrees. Can't we like talk to New England Tech, say, hey, we got a project down here for hydroelectric to make the town more green, instead of having to deal with solar panels that in another 5 more years are gonna start breaking down and we're gonna have to start replacing. It's just a,
So just to give you a heads up, we asked the question when we toured the mill, asked about the hydro, and they said it's so expensive to run and maintain, they lose money doing it, so they ripping it out. So
that's.
I'm leaving that to the professionals. I'm
Yeah,
not,
granted that, and those are probably people that are pushing for wind turbines,
no,
solar
he's
panels.
not, they're not pushing for it,
But
but
anyhow.
they're the
I'm-
ones removing it from the dam now.
But I'm just trying to figure out how West Warwick can make out. You have a beautiful dam, and even during like most drought, you still have water running through that. So we have New England Tech. New England Tech has great engineers going through it. I'm wondering if you could like work with them to say, hey, can you come up with a like 90% working solution for this? That's just a thought that I'm trying to put out to help West Warwick and
To answer your question, Title 23, Health and Safety, Rhode Island General Law 23-110-16. That's your health and safety for alcoholism.
okay, that's 3 questions back.
Just letting you know.
Okay,
I had to look.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And another thing, I want to thank you all because out of all people in the government, you guys have the hardest job compared to the federal government. What for? Because you are right in front of the people. You have to listen to us. You work for us. So I mean, it's kind of, thank you for taking our BS. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did that come to fruition?
If they did, it's for their own use. It's not, nothing for the town of West Warwick.
I know you guys want to get out of here, so do I, but we brought up the crossing guards on the hill. I just want to add, I've been tasked to pick up my grandson quite a few times the last couple of weeks up there. Those ladies are amazing. They got eyes behind their head. Everything's moving. Kids are moving. Cars are stopped. Cars are moving. Kids are stopped. They're like machines. They do an absolute fantastic job, and impressed with the safety, the way those ladies operate up there. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Wendy Boudreau, 34 Patuxent Terrace. I sent an email out on Saturday regarding a cleanup with the town and a few of our partners and some homeless individuals who came out to help clean up a mess. They weren't the ones that actually made the mess, but they came out to clean it. It went well. There's still a lot left to do. However, the workers at DPW did not participate in the cleanup whatsoever and just refused. They actually left us on the hillside with a big dumpster bag full of garbage and took off and went to lunch. Jeff and Glenn had to go and get the machine, haul up the bag of garbage, and then pull us up the hill on the ropes, which was great. Actually, Glenn actually saved me from falling in the river, which was amazing. But I just, I don't understand why the workers were so aggravated that the guys jumped in to kind of like save us off the hill, save the dumpster bag full of trash from going into the river. I don't, the words that were coming out of their mouth, they just don't care about the land. I mean, it's on the river. It's trash that's gonna go into our rivers. And I can't even
Where was this?
describe the amount of trash.
Where was the cleanup? I read your email. I missed that.
Oh, it was along the bike path
East
by
Main,
East
Bike Path.
Main,
Is one of them.
where the storage area is. It looks amazing. I'm not,
There was
downing
great partnership
anything.
to get it done, but
Yeah.
there is some personnel matters that were being addressed through the leadership.
Hence.
Yes,
the
and that's
grievance.
not, that's,
But again, I have mixed feelings about this.
I
mean,
have mixed feelings
so-
about the
so
cleanup
let-
myself.
Let me say, and I
Yeah.
commend anybody and everybody who was involved. Okay, But also, if I was in those shoes as an employee, knowing some of that is not in my job description of picking up not just one needle or hundreds, I'd probably push back a little bit too. But again, if they were asked to do the job and they were supposed to be there doing a job and they were standing there watching you, that's not the whole story. I mean, they should be off doing something else somewhere else. And if their leadership is doing the work, then so be it. Thank you. Thank you for stepping up
No,
and getting.
exactly.
I'd rather
Yeah.
see you out in the field working and helping your employees than sitting in an office letting them do the work. I think that's commendable. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the type of leadership you should have in a department. You should have a manager or a department head willing to help their employees, not a person who's willing to not work with their employees. I don't think anybody can run a business without able to help their employees at times. So
No, exactly. No, definitely. It was an amazing job. I'm thinking about moving forward too. Like there's other spots that we have to clean. And if I just have to round up volunteers who don't want to do this, nobody wants to do this. We need a solution is what we need, but
No,
I
and
mean,
and-
we're working on it.
And the owner of East Main in
Yeah.
front, I talked to him today and he said, wow, they did a superior job.
Yeah.
All
Thank
these
you.
cleanups are on town property, correct? Or are they
So
on
far,
private? They're
yeah.
not on private property, correct?
No, not yet.
Well, I tell you,
No,
I'd
we have
object
the
to
issue
having a
with
town.
Pulaski Street. So, I mean, you can consider that private property.
It is. The guy's
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
sell it and
exactly.
it's a mess again. And he's very upset.
No,
And
I
he
know.
can't sell his own property, but he can pay taxes on it. That's a huge issue.
Yeah, I know.
It is, and it
It's
needs to,
all of our issue, though. It's
but it's
not
not.
just my
No, it's
issue.
his issue because it's his property.
No, definitely.
And I was not going to bring that up until you just did, but you know, it's not right.
Yeah, thanks for the blindside, Jay.
It's not.
Appreciate
We
it.
all,
No,
we
I
all,
know.
we all got an email tonight before walking in here.
No, I know about this. I've been working with the property manager over on Pulaski Street. She's sending me rentals. We have, because we have folks that are outside, we have folks with vouchers. So that's, that's fine. I'm gonna get to Pulaski Street, whoever I have to round up to do this.
Well, I'm getting,
It's
the-
not-
I'm getting the calls, that's why.
No,
You
I
know,
know.
from-
I'm
from the
getting them
owners,
after,
from the
so
owners,
yeah,
so.
I get it. I get them from the property manager over at the next development up, so.
Which isn't their property.
No,
It's-
no,
so
but I get it.
is-
You
okay.
have a lot of residents complaining, but the area will be cleaned. I don't know how we're gonna do it. Hoping we all can work together on getting it done. Me rounding up our outreach workers, like, it's not in their job description either, to go pick up this trash. And it's
That's-
not fun
that
trash.
it's-
to pick
But
up.
it's not, but just to make it clear, I mean, we'll go back and forth, but it's somebody's property that's being trashed. It's private property that's being trashed.
Oh, I
So
understand.
as long as you know that.
Oh, I
and He
know.
doesn't want people on his property.
Then he needs to do something. I am not doing anything about it. We're gonna help clean. We're working on a solution, like we need your help, so. I don't know how many times I have to say it, we need the help. On the solution. We gave you guys the solution. It got shot down for whatever reason, so. And we know everybody's not gonna go in. I hear it all the time from you guys, from everybody out here. Most people are gonna go in. Actually, we cleaned up behind Thunder Mist. We didn't throw the person out that was still staying back there. She got her stuff together. She actually started a job. She's been 26 days sober. The other good thing that came out of it was the person left back at this encampment. I possibly got him into a housing solution for the winter. And he's on waiting list. Like, we're doing everything that we can do, so. Any
Think-
input is greatly appreciated.
The thing that scares me is I was with a business owner right here in Arctic yesterday, and I think Mr. Reed, you saw me talking to the individual. The person moved, no, your dad, I'm sorry. They moved further away from the gazebo. They could have taken their business anywhere out of West Warwick, but they decided to keep it in West Warwick, but they moved away from the gazebo because they were afraid of what's gonna happen when it reopens. Because he says people don't they're not gonna bring their children there because it's not a safe place. So, or they don't want their kids seeing it. They don't dealing with it. So again, yesterday, stand there with one of my employees and I'm hearing it from the business owner and I'm like, I understand. I just don't know what the fix is at this point. You know, I'm starting to look at other options. Some nice little decorative black fence all the way around with a gate. Sounds good to me. And it's been brought up to me by numerous people.
No, it has, it
So-
has. You just can't have that ugly rented fence. up
No,
there
I
like
really-
that.
I want that going as soon as possible
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But
No,
Wendy,
definitely.
I
that we
appreciate
have
what
to-
you do and your passion.
do,
I really do.
And we do
And-
know that everyone has to work together to find a
Yes.
solution.
We
It
do.
is,
But-
it's a town
But
problem.
when it starts affecting people who have
Right.
property and are paying their taxes on their property, a lot of money, and have to pay to clean up their property for trash that they didn't do, that's what becomes a really big issue. And that's a very big roadblock that you're gonna face.
Oh, I get it. Thundermist just paid over $10,000, I'm sure, to get the area cleaned up. It was not cheap. It was 8 hours, 8 to 10 people, myself. It was a lot. And it's navigating, the land, which is not easy. And we have more to do. We have to get the town cleaned up. That's why I'm here, like.
Yep. And I
And I can't do it alone, and I can't do it with just volunteers. So I thank you for everything that you have done. But we still need to do more.
and Glenn, thank you for not letting Wendy fall in.
Right.
I heard Jeff fell in though.
I heard that too.
Ah,
Last comment.
Right. Just a quick, like, for her, we have garbage trucks that go around every week for everyone in the neighborhood. Could we have like permanent steel on like the sidewalks? So as people going by, instead of like,
We have about a dozen of them right
well,
now.
I'm like on a regular interval, because like I said, I walk around this neighborhood 6.3 miles every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I come through this neighborhood, I see all the, what you call it, all the bottles, all the junk all over the place. What I can, if I see a trash barrel a couple of feet in front of me as I'm walking, I'll pick up as I go and throw it out. But it would make it a lot easier if you had like some permanents from the town that are like there, that as the garbage trucks come by, they'll pick those up along with like the rest of them. That's like a thought.
Everything has a cost. You were here last time saying your taxes are high,
Granted,
right? But now we put more garbage receptacles out and tell you
but
we have to
you're
raise
not
your tax.
using any resources that you haven't already, because you're already utilizing.
They charge you by the barrel. They charge you by the pickup in here when they do that.
Plus everything.
Tonnage.
Everything
Yeah.
has a cost.
But thank you.
But this is like one thing that could, in the long run, be on a cheaper run, instead of having to constantly go out and find groups of people to clean up.
Thank you.
That you can.
Thank you.
If I may, we tried that, doesn't work. Trash can here, crap goes on the ground. They're not gonna use it, simple as that. Jason, we talking about this property. And it's your ward, your side.
I know.
The guy went in there with a backhoe and 3 people with chainsaws and cut that whole place right to the ground. Brought 2 dumpsters in, those big roll-off dumpsters, and cleaned that place out. And it's a pigsty again. How does a citizen, well, he doesn't even live, I think he lives in Massachusetts.
No, he doesn't.
The owner? How does he protect his property?
Right now we can't.
Yeah. I mean, does he have to hire an armed guard?
That's,
I don't know.
ladies and gentlemen of
That's
the council,
difficult.
that's really not appropriately before you. I mean, you've given information out in response. And you just really can't, this is a personal owner of property. You really can't discuss it.
It's
mean-
just problematic everywhere you look. And they just don't take care of where they are. They make horrible messes. Thank you.
I said last one. Now you come.
I know, I wish I was doing a long time ago. All right, I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible. This is only procedural for me. About 4 months ago, I filed ethics complaint against Councilman Messier. And the Ethics Commission found him in violation of 5 of the 5. Through that, because Mr. Messier has incorporated his name and position with the Crazy Christmas Wagon, it can be discussed here according to the ACLU. My question is, okay,
Chief, give me the gavel.
competent.
The Ethics Commission found that the Crazy Christmas wagon has never been filed with the IRS. So in the inquiry, I'm going to be sending an email, a certified letter to you, asking for the financials for that corporation, which under nonprofit is public information. And before rumors start of who's doing what, like always, I'm making myself present. This is me. I have questions. You may have all the answers. I'm not here accusing you of anything, but it can't be found on the IRS website. It can't be found on any of the donation or nonprofit websites. It can't be found with DPR, Division of Taxation, or Division of Unemployment. So you're all aware I'm going to be requesting this. A lot of people in the town, a lot of departments have given money. One of the answers was it was a pass-through. I understand the pass-through. I get a toy, came from Derek. I gave it to Jay. That's a pass-through. When there's monetary money, there's that plastic money, whatever it is, Venmo, all kinds of accounts. That's money. It has to be accounted for. And you may have all the answers, but I'm going to be requesting them. Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?